Hey there, and welcome back to the mini weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Get into it, Mini. My God, that is very good. Yes. Was the end. Like I said, hello. We are back. I know it's been a couple weeks. Believe me, I did not want it that way. 2 weeks ago, I was very down with sickness, conjunctivitis, borderline pink eye. Allergies were kicking my butt. Last week still wasn't feeling great, but was dealing with a combination of all three kids kind of being sick. So just a lot going on the last 2 weeks, but it's kind of helped me refocus everything, kind of get some things in line. We're cooking up some really fun, really exciting things that will be coming for sure by the end of summer, hopefully within the next couple months. So just stay tuned. It's going to be worthwhile, fun, and I can't wait to see where this fun hobby that I started takes us. So yeah, without further ado, first thing on the docket tonight for the podcast, drink of the podcast. And we went with another drink from our friends over at Athletic Brewing. And tonight we went with their lime and salt. And I have to say, with that initial reaction you guys saw of me taking this sip, I am blown away. So as much as I love lime flavor, anything like Bud Light Lime in the summer used to be like my go-to drink of choice. Not all that big of a fan of like salt. So like back when I did drink, my wife and I, like if we ordered margaritas, we would specifically ask for a sugar rim because margaritas typically come with a salt rim. And I'm just like, I don't need that salt in my life. So I got these because I was like, lime, it's got to be something of kind of like a summer drink. But I'm like, hopefully there's not too much salt because I'm not a salt person. They honestly shouldn't even have the salt on here. It should just be like Athletics Light Lime. This is honestly delicious. And if I'm being completely honest with you guys, when I took that sip, it essentially tastes like a non-alcoholic version of Bud Light Lime, which is cream. It's premium amazing and is probably going to be one of my go-tos this summer. Actually, I can kind of get the lime a little bit. You kind of get a little bit of I took this out a little bit sooner than I wanted to before the podcast. You kind of get a little bit of like a salt kick, like after it goes down, if you will, but not too much. I have to say, of the few, whether on camera or off camera, this is probably only the third or fourth one. So it's not like I've tried 20 of their different flavors and it's the top of the list. But of the 3 or 4, including this one that I have had, this has to be my favorite, just like flavor, just with like how it tastes. On their website, their little excerpt about it, it says their light lime and salt is a light, crisp, and refreshing brew layered with bright notes of lime, balanced with a touch of salt, and elevated with subtle herbal aromas, smooth and flavorful without being heavy. It serves up an easy sipping like a cool breeze on a warm day, and I could not agree more. Very awesome, and I love it. For some of my newer listeners, maybe wondering, Jack, what is Athletic Brewing Company? That's a great question. They're a non-alcoholic craft brewery, and I think it's awesome. I've read it the last couple of times. I mean, kind of like catchline is, do you love the taste of beer but hate how it makes you feel? Athletics got your back. Our NA beer are for those that want to miss out on the buzz, but not the fun. I love it. Short and sweet. Gets right to the point. Haven't drank for a couple of years now. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't really miss the alcohol. Like sometimes I miss some of like, the sociality of it. So drinks like this, I'm just like, this is perfect. Like this is all I need. It's like, when I did drink, it's not like I drink all the time. So to be able to go out, get a couple of 6-packs of these to last me a month or two, sip on them and everything like that is perfect. So yeah, Athletic Brewing, go check them out. athleticbrewing.com. You can find out about all their really awesome different flavors, their staples. Going to Lick Shop, they have non-alcoholic beers. You can filter by their best sellers, their limited editions. They have NA inspired cocktails, variety packs, non-alcoholic IPAs, non-alcoholic light beer, dark beer, our non-alcoholic beer. They have their own sparkling, non-alcoholic sparkling water line, merch and apparel. They really have, oh my gosh, I need to see some of this apparel. I hope I can get my hands on some of this from Athletic Brewing. This stuff looks sweet. But yeah, go check them out. Like I said, athleticbrewing.com. They're all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, everything, you name it. And yeah, I really enjoyed them. Like I said, I believe The only other two that we have had on here is their Run Wild IPA, like a light blue can, and then their Free Wave can, it's in red. Those are the only two I know for sure we've done. I'm pretty sure we've done another one. I just can't remember what. But they have so many different options. I urge you guys, go check them out. They have so many different, they have their Moscow Mule, Paloma, a Blackberry Sour, Upside Dawn, Run Wild IPA. Like, they have some of their staples just in like different sizes. Like, you can get the Run Wild IPA in like a tall 19.2 ounce. You can get them in, the normal 12. Really, really cool. I urge you guys, I can talk them up as much as I want to, as much as you guys want to hear it, but you guys have to go do the work yourself and actually look into them to understand just how amazing they are. And just like every other place, you can find out where you can find each of them in store. So it's not like you go in and say, hey, Athletic Brew is sold here, and then you have to go there and you find out. Like, no, you can literally click find in store, and then you can put in your location, and then you can filter by your favorite brews. So, for me, this time, whatever. I'm just going to go find your favorite brews. Let's go Ripe Pursuit Lemon Radler within 25 miles. And I can see there's stuff I can literally go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places within 24, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can go to 9 different places within 10 miles of me to get this. So really cool. Check them out. You will not be disappointed. Like I said, tonight we're doing the lime and salt. And I know it's our first time back on in a couple weeks, but I'm going to go 9 too. This is really good. I'll definitely be having this bad boy as one of my go-tos this summer and more often. So 9 2. Lime and Salt, Athletic Brewing. Go check them out. You will not be disappointed. They have something for everybody. So that was the first thing we had on the docket. For those that, once again, may be new, we are doing our podcast in like the format of like a to-do list per se. So we got 10 things we're going to talk to you guys about tonight. That was our first one. The second thing we got is, I know I may be a little bit late to the party on this, but it did happen within the last 2 weeks. I was kind of excited to talk about it when it first came out. But within the last 2 weeks, the NCAA basketball tournaments are set to expand, and they're moving from 76 teams to 68 teams. Jack, what does this mean, and how does March Madness change of this? Those are both great questions. So the new format is debuting this upcoming March 2027. And the first 4 is like, nothing will happen to the round of 64, but the first 4 essentially will be replaced by a 24-team, 12-game opening round played across 2 sites, Dayton, Ohio, and a second location set to be determined. Something tells me it's going to be somewhere, Dayton, Ohio is a little bit kind of like more northwest. Maybe it's somewhere kind of like southeast, or maybe just out east somewhere. No announcements. People haven't really even been speculating. But this is how the format and the schedule is going to change. So the addition of these 8 teams means that there will now be 44 at-large bids available, up from 37. All D1 conferences will retain their automatic qualifiers. That's what that means. The opening round, so instead of the 4 games, like I said, it will feature 12 played by 24 teams across 2 sites over 2 days, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 6 games each day. So essentially making March Madness 2 full days longer, which is super exciting. Everybody always wants more March Madness to watch. But the round of 64, like I said, that will be touched. After the opening round, the 12 advancing teams will join the remaining field to create the standard 64-team bracket, which will continue the traditional Thursday to Monday schedule. Some of the things that came behind this, there were a lot of power conferences like the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the SEC that wanted to secure more large spots for their teams. It sounded like the Big Ten, on any given year, the Big Ten and the ACC usually send about 8 or so teams on any given year. Based off of records alone, there should be probably 10, maybe 11 teams from each of them that go. But the other thing too, this marks the first expansion for the men and women's tournaments since 2011, and it's the largest increase to the field since 1985. So that's essentially what happened. Then I thought I'd really quickly break down, because I kind of had this question too when this first came out. I'm excited, but I was curious as to kind of what were some of the pros and the cons. And obviously, the good, like, why is this happening? One, more bubble access. So you'll see a lot more 20-win teams get in with the mid-major programs that were previously snubbed at a chance. A lot of the times, once the committee had their 8 or 9 ACC or Big Ten teams, sometimes that 9th or 10th spot had a really strong record. They were just in a tough conference and it had some staple wins outside of the conference, but they weren't going to let them in because there were other conferences and other teams to consider. Now those teams will more than likely get the nod. Excuse me. Again, I think, money. I think the NCAA was wanting to do this, from what I was hearing, for the last couple of years for money purposes. Now you can advertise 6 full games. So now there'll probably be a full slate of games with 1 game at a time on Tuesday and Wednesday. So a lot more TV time, a lot more people tuning in for ads and all that fun stuff. So those are kind of like the main good reasons. The bad reason, and why some fans are mad, and I don't blame some people, is the simple notion of, like, where does it end? So it's like, okay, we were at 68, now we're at 76. What's from stopping us to eventually somehow someday going all the way up to 100? And I get that aspect of it, because people are just like, why fix what's not broke? The people are like, why fix what's not broke, and why dilute these things? And I get it, but at the same time, it makes it more fun, because at the end of the day, if your team is really that good, and like these number 1, these number 2, these number 3, 4 C's, if they're really that good, it really shouldn't matter how these tournaments change. They should still be a top team and still be able to beat all these teams and get to the finals if they really are that good. And if they're not, they get exposed, like, we typically see and you typically do. But a lot of people are actually saying, on the contrary, it kind of hurts the little guys. So the small and mid-major programs will now have to fight through a bloated qualification gauntlet to make the main bracket, potentially ending Cinderella stories, because now you're probably going to see the ACC and the Big Ten, instead of sending 8 teams, now sending 10, maybe 11, 12 teams that most of them have a legitimate chance for why they should, go a couple rounds. And yeah, sadly, one of these days we might see, an all, in one quadrant, you're seeing, an all ACC or an all Big Ten, second round, or, Sweet 16. So, but that's just how things go. And, things change. It doesn't always have to be bad change. And then obviously, as far as the fans are concerned, a lot of people are worried about, like, messy brackets, because now they're saying people are going to be are going to have to be more focused on who's going to win these games to get in, and who likes potentially being the first one with a perfect bracket. So that's what I got to say on that topic. Should be fun. I'm excited to see how it goes and have 2 more additional days watching March Madness, right? All right. And then really quickly, the next thing I thought we would briefly talk about, the Minnesota Lynx season got started within these last 2 weeks. They kicked off the season with an unfortunate home and season loss on May 9th to the Atlanta Dream. Fortunately, they turned it around rather quickly. They've already played 5 games and are currently in second place in the Western Conference with a 3-2 record, despite not having their best player in Nafisa. I don't know why I was like Nafisa Collier. I looked up here and it looks like, why is it not showing up? Out with she's 29. I didn't realize she was that old already. I thought she was younger than that. Nafisa Collier, she underwent surgery on her left ankle on March 24th and is expected to return on court activities in early June. When you hear early June, you typically think, okay, within the first week and a half, so June 7th, June 10th, and then hopefully getting in there by, 2/3 through the way of the month. So you figure the 20th. And if that is the case, she should be back June 21st for a game against Washington. And at that point, if that's when she goes back, she's only going to be missing 16 games of their 44 game season schedule, which is only a little bit more than a third of their schedule, which all things considered isn't a ton. I mean, if the Lynx can kind of hold their ground and kind of stay above that 500 record, I mean, someone like Nafisa Collier just comes back in and just changes the entire landscape of your team and how you play, and makes them just that more dangerous too. Yeah, I think they honestly, all things considered, should be fine. They're getting some, good plays, out of the gate. Kayla McBride's stepping into her own, leading the team with 15.6 points per game. Courtney Williams is right there too with 15.6. Natasha Howard, 15.2. Olivia Miles, 15.2. So in the interim, you're seeing some of these girls like Olivia Miles, Natasha Howard, who maybe wouldn't be getting their confidence going this early with her being out. Now their confidence is going. So when she gets back, they're more comfortable making shots and doing these things. And they're a deeper team with, just more things going for them too, which is always fun to see. So I think all things considered, despite not having their best player, they should be pretty solid. So yeah, for those that are interested, their next couple games, they will be in Chicago tomorrow, Saturday, for a game against the Sky. And then Wednesday, they'll be back home for already their second game against the Atlanta Dream. So that's what we got for the Lynx and their opening schedule. And then, unreal. What am I rocking tonight? I got one of the two. I got the quarter zip from the drop, one from the Minnesota Twins. What was this one technically called? It was called the UNRL Twins Outbound Quarter Zipped Navy. And I heard some people kind of complaining about it's too simple. I think it's perfect. It's clean. You can zip it up for more of the nice look. You can zip it all the way down for a little bit more of a relaxed, like athletic look. You can put the collar down if you really want to. I think it's simple. I think it's, a little bit tribute to the old age, simplistic Vikings shirts, jerseys, all that kind of stuff. Not a lot going on. The Navy, simple TC Twins. I mean, I love it. I think it's really awesome. And just like anything else, super comfortable. I mean, these outbound quarter zips really have kind of that, like, very similar to the, oh gosh, why can't I think of it? The Elevation hoodie or crew neck, where they feel thick enough that it can protect you from, some bad weather, but thin enough that you can wear it outside and in the spring, summer, and in the afternoon and not feel like you're getting too hot from it. So super comfortable. I really like it. Some of their best stuff. I mean, just when you think, what could they possibly do next? They show you that they can, that it is possible. So yeah, super comfortable. Love it. And then obviously I haven't gotten a ton of hats lately because I already have a ton of hats. So tonight we're just rocking one of the OGs, the Weekender Snapback, the Sahara, color. But yeah, that's what we got. That's what we're rocking tonight. I urge you guys, I haven't heard anything, on any new collaborations coming out. Obviously, they just had another unreal Minnesota FC drop, and they got some fun stuff, I'm sure, coming up on the horizon. But most importantly, you need to go onto their website, unrl.com, unreal.com. Their Memorial Day sale is already live. At least 20% off site-wide, up to 30 and sometimes 40% off specific brands, specific looks. I urge you guys to go check them out. They literally have something for everybody. Literally have something for everybody, from training to traveling to lounging. It's top of the line choice for those who refuse to compromise on style or function, which is amazing. You guys hear me all the time. I believe they're the top of the line in athleisure. I love that they're a Minnesota-based company, but even though that they are a Minnesota-based company, they're nationally known. They're top of the line athleisure, as far as I'm concerned, not just in Minnesota, but nationally as well. go check them out, unreal.com, unrl.com, and make sure you use the link in my YouTube bio for your next purchase to get up to $15 off your order and start accruing points on your first order as well. And make sure you let them know their friends from the mini weekend sent you. So that's what we got for you guys on Unreal today, this week. Now jumping back into stuff, I thought we would do the next thing is a playoff update. So far, again, this year we did our playoff predictions, who we thought was going to win everything a little bit different rather than just like fucking up an entire bracket by at the beginning doing boom, 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 everything. We're doing it a round at a time. So looking at it so far, there have been 12 games or 12 series we picked for the NBA and NHL. And I gotta say, the NBA, I'm doing a lot better. Because like I said, the NBA, 9 times out of 10, regardless of seeding, the better team usually wins. And I usually think I have a good knack for who the better team is coming into the playoffs. So right now, with the conference finals underway, there have been 12 games picked. Like I said, I'm 10 for 12 on teams that I picked to advance, and only 5 for 12 on games, kind of like, AKA bonus points. And I got to be honest with you guys. I think for me, the biggest surprise so far has been the Celtics. It was actually pretty insane. The Celtics not winning. That was literally the only team, I guess, 7 of the 8 teams advancing into the second round. Yeah, just insane. If you would have asked me before the playoffs started, I probably would have said at the very least the Boston Celtics would have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they didn't even make it out of the first round. They had some issues with injuries, I know, with Tatum and all that kind of stuff, but they just ultimately couldn't get it done against a Philadelphia team, which amazingly Joel Embiid did not have that much injury concerns in that first round. If he did, I think Boston would have won, but that's just the thing. You have to play and beat who's ahead of you. And yeah, right now I think that's been the biggest shock for me. I think a lot of people are surprised by the Cavs. I personally am not. James Harden is a winner. I mean, I shouldn't say that. James Harden knows how to win big games in the playoffs. So to see them beat the Detroit Pistons was not a surprise for me. Quite frankly, I would not have been surprised if the Cavs won in 5 or 6. I think it was fun to see that series go 7 games. But yeah, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, with these 4 teams remaining in the NBA, I'm rooting for the Cavs. The Cavs, then unfortunately Spurs, then Knicks, and then the Thunder. The only reason it's Spurs Knicks instead of Knicks Spurs is because of Karl Anthony Towns. I can 100% appreciate what that man has done for our team. With that said, I do not like the idea of him going to the NBA Finals or winning the championship before the Timberwolves. So that alone is why I have them third on my list of who I personally want to win. So that's kind of our recap on the NBA playoffs. For the NHL playoffs, not so hot. Not so hot. 6 for 12 in teams picked. At 6 for 12 in bonus points. Once again, just like in the NBA, I did the best in that opening round. I picked the Avs to win. I picked the Wild to win, the Knights to win, Sabres to win, Canes to win. But I had the Lightning and Pens winning. I don't think anybody could have seen Montreal coming on this hot. I personally didn't. I couldn't have. My hat's off to them. The Flyers youth came alive and shut down the old heads in Pittsburgh, which is just insane. And I can't believe I was kind of crazy about the Ducks coming into the playoffs, and I thought I had the Ducks beating I thought I had the Ducks beating the Oilers, but I did not. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I think for me the biggest surprise so far has been actually 2 teams. How good the Hurricanes started off and the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, I don't think hats off to them. They beat a very, 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 very good Lightning team. But I think a lot of people would have thought, okay, good job being the Lightning. You're going to have a tough time against the Sabres. And they more than held their own against the Sabres. And they already have a 1-0 lead, right? 1-0 lead on the 1-0 or 2 Hurricanes. Yeah, 1-0 lead. They play tomorrow. Tomorrow Saturday. It's the Vegas Golden Knights that have a 2 lead on a stupid Colorado Avalanche. But yeah, so weirdly enough, the two big surprises for me have come from the Eastern Conference. Hats off to the Canadian. You have to give credit when credit is due. Hurricanes. I knew the Hurricanes were good. I did not think they were win 8 straight games to start the playoffs good and not allow the Flyers or the Senators to even win a game. Like, I don't think you guys understand, maybe some of my hockey fans do, but I don't think you guys understand just how hard it is in hockey to sweep a team. Once again, like hockey is very much even in the regular season, like on any given night, the best team in the league can have a bad game against the worst team in the league and they can lose to them, 7-2, whatever. Like that's just sometimes how the puck bounces and how the puck rolls in the regular season. And sometimes that shit just happens in the playoffs too. So, um, yeah, that's been crazy. And, yeah, hopefully if I have it my way, hopefully we will see the Spurs and the Cavaliers in the NBA finals. And in the Stanley Cup final, we will have the Golden Knights and the Hurricanes with the Hurricanes and the Cavaliers winning. So yeah, but we will get into that when these two rounds match up. So with that playoff update, we'll kind of quickly go into Wild and Wolves. Obviously, a little bit more removed from it, so not as emotional about it, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, I think, the first thing, number 6, Wild off season, we'll go through quickly. And I'm just gonna, I'll just kind of go through, in my opinion, the top 3 or 4 priorities as far as the Wild are concerned. If I was Guerin, and I kind of think he is thinking like this, first and foremost, you need to extend Quinn Hughes. I get the sense if you're Bill Guerin, you're probably wanting to extend him for 5+ years. Quinn Hughes probably doesn't want to commit that long term. So I think even because we technically do have him under contract for this upcoming season, which I didn't realize. But if you're Bill Guerin, you're like, if he's not signing an extension, you're going to trade him before the season starts. But I think you need to sign him for an extension. I think at the bare minimum, go ahead and sign him. I would say, I don't know what the top D-man is making, but I would say 2 or 3 years for $15 million a year, something like that. And a lot of people might say, well, Jack, the Wild definitely have to go after a number 1 center first. Like a lot of people think that might be the number 1 thing. And I go back and forth. You have Joel Eriksson Ek, who is a very good, I know a lot of people probably don't think he's like number one center. He's not, some of these big names, which is fine. And I can't help but kind of feel like, yeah, they're probably right. But I think your extending of Quinn Hughes is a little bit more important because once you get that money figured out, you understand, okay, if I want to go get a true number 1 center, it's going to have to be through trade because we just can't sign somebody for that much. Or if you're able to extend Quinn Hughes for not as much as you thought, then you're like, okay, maybe we can go after a true number 1 center and sign him for something because we have that money. So that's why I kind of have Quinn Hughes' extension number 1 and going to find a true center number 1 on there. But with there, I just think this team needs more. If I'm being completely honest, they need a true number 1 center, but I think I really believe they just need more center depth. I mean, I think if you look at if you look at our roster, the guys that are centers, Joel Eriksson Ek, Robbie Fabry, who really didn't play too much, Ben Jones, Michael McCarron, Nico Sturm, and Yakov Trenin. Which means you had where's Ryan Hartman playing center, quite a bit, who was technically a right wing. You had Marcus Foligno or Nick Foligno, one of those two playing, some center too. So you didn't really have a true center. And I think if you go after and get a number 1 center and make Joel Eriksson Ek your 2 center, I think Joel Eriksson Ek would probably be one of the best, if not the best 2 centers in the league. But they got to beefing that up too. They have to be able to win more draws. They need to be able to have more 200-foot players because, like it or not, your center has to be covering the whole area. It can make and break a team. And, as much as it hurt, you can't help but feel like the Wild were kind of right there. They had an opportunity to extend it and bring the series back game 6, and it just didn't happen. And even in the other games they did lose, it's not like we were blown out. So you can't help but think if we had, one or two more true centers, and if we were just playing with more heart, we probably could have extended it to game 6, and then you're at home. Who knows what could have happened, but can't play that shoulda, coulda, woulda game. But then after those, I gotta be honest, I think those are really the only 2 1-2 priorities you have to do. Then after that, I think if you're Bill Guerin, you have some after you do those 2 things, you can kinda start building the team around that, but and you kind of have to make some big decisions on people. I mean, this upcoming season, you got Tarasenko, Nick Foligno, Matt Zuccarello, Michael McCarron, Marcus Johansson, Bobby Fabry, Zach Bogosian, Jeff Petrie, all unrestricted free agents. Do you bring any of them back? If I'm being completely honest, I don't know that I would. The only one I mentioned that I probably would resign is maybe Matt Zuccarello or Nick Foligno at like a vet minimum. Yeah, Bobby Brink, and Damon Hunt, who are restricted free agents, who I would actually really like to see Damon Hunt brought back. I think when he played, I thought he looked really good. So I would like to keep him. But again, you also have to be thinking, who are we going to resign? Who are we going to move? Because obviously, I think I speak for the organization when I say the only guys that are like untouchable on this team are Kirill, Matt Boldy, Joel Erickson for forwards. Those are the only 3 untouchable. And then on defense, Brock Faber, Quinn Hughes. So those 5 outside, I mean, maybe you put Marcus Foligno and Jared Spurgeon on that list by nature that they're your assistant and your actual captain. But anybody else, I think, you have to see what you can do. So you can bring in depth because, some of these, some of these buyout or no, some of these guys you just have to figure. And the other thing you got to think about too is your goaltender. I mean, you got Philip Gustafson making $6.8 million the next 3 years. So if you're not going to play him a ton, do you try to send him out to get another player or 2 and then sign another backup goalie? So there's just after those first 2 things, there's a lot of things Bill Guerin's got to figure out. Who does he want back? Who does he think can win him a Stanley Cup? Who does he think can't? And once again, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I trust him. And it should be a fun and interesting offseason. But once again, until the NHL playoffs wrap up, which won't be until once they wrap up here, let's see, like mid June. It looks like what is that? It looks like June 2nd is the latest the conference finals could last. So within the first couple weeks in June, I'm guessing most things won't happen. You won't see much news until after the 4th of July. That's just my opinion, though. What do I know? Next up, number 7, we have the Wolves offseason. And very kind of similar to the Wild, you have to take a really good hard look in the mirror, I think. I think with how that final series and how those final couple games with the Spurs went, I think Tim Connolly's got to take a good hard look in the mirror and understand 2 things. 1, this roster needs to be shaken up. And 2, who really wants to be here? Because from what I've heard, as much as I am of the nature, Julius Randle needs to be traded because of how he played in that series. I think from some of the things I've heard, he needs to be traded because of how he played in that series, but he also needs to be traded because it doesn't seem like he was, how do I want to say this nicely, a really good team player and a good even-keeled player in the locker room. And I think I speak like Naz Reid did. I think you need to have a cohesive group of guys. And I think if you look at these good teams that are still playing, unfortunately, the Spurs, the Thunder, the Knicks, I haven't seen so much with the Cavs, but with those 3 teams, a lot of those guys, they're thick as thieves. You see them being goofy and you see them razzing each other. And there were just certain times during certain games that you just felt like, what's going on with this team? But similar to like what we did with the Wild, I think the first thing is you have to pursue a blockbuster. Sorry, like you have like a 1A, 1B priority. And like 1A is you have to make a decision on Ayo DeSumo. If Tim Connolly feels like he can win with Io DeSumo as your point guard. You sign him to a relatively team-friendly contract, which I think Io would be okay with. He's been in the league for a while in a bad situation in Chicago, and I think he got a good taste. I heard somebody else say this, a good taste of what it means to be on a good team here, and I think he'd be willing to take a relatively team-friendly deal, not super team-friendly, but kind of team-friendlier deal. But I say that as kind of 1A because then once you make that decision, you can kind of decide, you can kind of choose from there, who is your blockbuster co-star going to be? Because if Ayo DeSumo is going to be your guy, then you turn your target to Giannis Antetokounmpo, a power forward, kind of small forward, maybe stretch five kind of a thing. And if you go, maybe Ayo DeSumo isn't the taste, then maybe you try to go after a Kyrie Irving, a Darius Garland. People are still throwing around the name John Morant, and I do not want that man on this team. I don't even want him mentioned in the same sentence as the Timberwolves, if I'm being completely honest. But that goes, kind of hand in hand, if I'm being completely honest. But then I think after that, you have to, with doing that, you gotta I think if there's one guy you have to get rid of on this team, it is Julius Randle. And if I'm being completely honest, like if I'm Tim Connolly, I'm kind of looking at what I have and I'm saying like, okay, very similar to Bill Garrett's, like who are my, no touch guys? Obviously Anthony Edwards, and you want to try making this list as small as possible so that you know what you can deal, what you have to do to go get these things done. But if I were Tim Connolly, my not untouchables in a perfect world would be Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Nas Reed for sure. I would love to add Terrence Shannon Jr. to that list with how I've seen him play, with his attitude, how he plays them. Those would be my 4 untouchables. However, if you're Tim Connolly and if TSJ is kind of on that fringe untouchable, not untouchable for the right price, and you're able to maybe get rid of Terrence Shannon Jr. in a package where you wouldn't have to give away as much to get a Giannis or somebody like that, maybe you figure that out and then you try to go get, another forward or something like that in free agency. So yeah, that's what I would do. A lot of people are saying after that, we should get rid of Dante DiVincenzo. I would actually love to bring him back. He's a great culture guy. I think he really loves being here. Another name that I think we might see get dealt this summer is Rudy Gobert. And I would actually, it's not so much because Rudy Gobert, I think, played really well for us in the playoffs. And it's not so much because I want him gone. I think it's more so because I really want to see Nas Reed, what Nas Reed can do as our starting 5. I think he could be that guy for us. It has nothing to do with, I think, Rudy Gobert's ass, but with his contract, I think we would be able to make something happen. So yeah, that's kind of my thing, I would say. And, then obviously I would try my best again. I'm not so great outside of the lottery guys for NBA drafts. Then after that, you want to try going after and getting NBA ready players in the drafts to kind of help you out with that kind of stuff too. So yeah, that's what I got. And then for the first time in a while, 2 of the last 3 things are Vikings related. So number 8, we got the Vikings signing Juwan Jennings to a 1-year deal worth up to $13 million. He's essentially replacing Jalen Naylor, who signed a 3-year, $35 million deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. Hate to see him go, but clear that man 1,000,000% deserved that contract. And I think this is a really good pickup. I think as of right now, Jordan Addison is still on our roster. I think there's a chance by the time the season starts, he won't be on our roster. I am almost positive he probably will not be on our roster after this upcoming trade deadline. But that's not good or there. That's not what we're talking about. But I like going out and getting Juwan Jennings and not feeling like you have to rush receiver Ty Felton. I think last year with the looks he was given, he wasn't given a ton, but he looked pretty good. So I think not having to put a rookie that didn't get a ton of looks into, all right, you're our wide receiver 3. I think you can kind of ease him into that, especially with Juwan Jennings coming off of a year where he was sidelined quite a bit with hamstring injuries, and he can kind of take his time too. They're kind of like 3A, 3B, if you will. And then obviously having a guy like TJ Hawkinson as a threat too would, obviously help that out. So I think this is a really good pickup. Like I said, he's 28 years old, battled through rib, ankle, shoulder issues for a chunk of the season, but still led the 49ers this last season, receiving touchdowns with 9 to with 55 receptions for 643 yards. And then 2025 year, it followed a career year for him in 24 when he had 77 catches for 975 yards and 6 touchdowns. Again, he's known as being a physical blocker who has a tendency to agitate opponents. He got emotional when potentially leaving the 49ers this last season, but I think that was because he really wanted to be at a team that he didn't really feel like he was being appreciated. So I think being appreciated here would go a long way with him and, should be a really, really good year. I'm excited to see what he can do with this team. And yeah, how he can be a safety blanket for a Kyler or JJ if he gets back into that position. But more importantly, the ninth thing we have on there is the Minnesota Vikings schedule release. The Minnesota Vikings right now are slotted in 4 primetime games. Monday Night Football in Week 9, November 9th against the Buffalo Bills is the first one. Next up, we got Sunday Night Football in Mexico City against San Francisco. And then in Week 14, Thursday Night Football in New England. And then for Week 15, once again, Sunday Night Football versus Detroit. It's insane, though. Like, in years past, the Vikings are notoriously a noon team. The Vikings, in their 18-game, 17-game season, 18-week season, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 noon games. And typically we have all noon games except for our primetime games and maybe 1, 2 afternoon games. So this is a little bit strange. It's going to take some getting used to. We actually kick off the season week 1 Sunday afternoon against Green Bay. So it'll be interesting. Before we wrap up, this isn't the time to do our way too early game by game predictions. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, looking at this roster, being able to win 9 games last year with lackluster quarterback play, shit, let me go back to here. Yeah, right there. Last year you had JJ McCarthy, who played 10 games. He didn't finish all of them. You had Carson Wentz, who played 5, Brosmer, who played 3, or Brosmer, who played parts in 8 games. So with that carousel of those 3 players, the fact that we were able to win 9 games is insane to me. So if we can get some kind of consistent play with Kyler, I think it should be pretty easy to win 9, 10 games. We don't have an overly hard schedule, like eye test I always talk about. The only teams I'm like, yeah, probably not winning those games. Monday night against Buffalo, but it's a home game. Having to go to New England late in the season. Those are really the only 2. Like, last year we went 4-2 in the division. And here, let me just say this. I'll say this before we wrap up, and then we can talk more about this at a later time. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, 17 games. I'm looking at this for this schedule, and there are 4 teams that, knowing what I know now, there is 0 reason we will win these 4 games: Miami, New Orleans, Atlanta, New York Jets. Okay. And then on top of that, like I said, last year we went 4-2 in the division. I think we have a really good chance to go 3-3 or 4-2 in the division again this year. But I think worst case scenario, we go 2-4. And already that puts us at 6 games. Okay. And then those 6 games between Tampa, Indianapolis, San Francisco, Carolina, and Washington, you give us 2 or 3 of those games, already you're at 8 or 9 games. And once again, if there's one thing we know about this team, but what I say, Indianapolis, San Francisco, Carolina, Washington, those 5 games, and Tampa, and then and if there's one thing I know, the Vikings always win a game that nobody has them winning. So again, I look at that New England game or that Buffalo game. Buffalo right now might be more realistic because their defense kind of took a hit and wasn't the defense it was last year. So unless they address that coming up here. But yeah, nonetheless, it's going to be a fun season. We have 9 home games this year, which will be really cool. Starting off on at home and ending the season at home, which will be sweet. And yeah, but last but certainly not least, the last thing I got on deck for you guys, our underdog parlay of the week. And I didn't really get any specific questions this week, which is totally fine. But I did get some people recommending we should keep better track of bets and stuff like that so that people can see. And I love it. I'm a huge stat guy. I've been doing a bad job of doing it, but we're going to start doing a better job of that. I know we do a really good job of it during the NFL season, but we'll bring it back. We'll put up our graphics and all that kind of stuff here. But yeah, let's go. I have a 4-game parlay this week, $5 to win, 27.54. We'll put that right there. And yeah, let's just get right into it. The first one I got Max Struss lower than 15 and a half point PRA points, rebounds, and assists. He's only cleared this number in 27% of his last 20 games. He hasn't cleared this once against the New York Knicks this series or the regular season. And on top of that, the Knicks allow the fewest points and assists over their last 10 games. So that's why I like that first flag. And then I got Dennis Schroeder lower than 10.5 PRA. The Knicks are also allow the second fewest points and third lowest field goal percentage to point guards, capping their scoring upside, which is not good for Schroeder, who has only cleared 5.5 points or more in 30% of his last 20 games. And with New York being the best defense over their last 5 games, does not bode well for him. After that, I got Dean Wade to make at least 1 3-pointer. He's hit this for 3 straight games now. He's cleared this in every game against the Knicks so far, and he's cleared this in 87.5 of his playoff games. He's averaging 1.9 threes a game. So I think that is probably the lock of these 4. That is the one lock, probably. And then I like Mikal Bridges, to go over 19.5 PRA. I think there's a very good chance Mikal Bridges gets 14, 15, 16 points alone in this upcoming game, which means he should be able to hit that with ease. So yeah, that's the parlay for the week that I have for you guys. Once again, I am not a financial advisor, so do with these picks what you will. I'm not liable for any losses, just like I will not come after you for any wins. And make sure when you go up to Underdog and sign up, use code JackTheCash to get up to $50 in bonus entries after depositing at least $10 and playing at least a $5 entry alongside 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Bet carefully, bet responsibly, and more than anything, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to get notified of the new episodes as soon as it comes out. Make sure you go follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, where we're posting, and you can stay up to date on all things any weekend. And that's what I got for you guys this week. Love you guys. Till next time.